Good morning and happy Social Media Day. It's Saturday the 30th of June, which is the 9th Social Media Day. It was set up by Mashable in 2010 to recognise and celebrate how social media has impacted on global communication. So I'm just going to talk for 10-15 minutes about some social media do's and don'ts. My name is Luann Wise. I'm a marketer. I run my own business, have done for nearly 7 years. I'm also author of a book called Relax, It's Only Social Media. I'm a LinkedIn Learning course instructor, and I'm really proud to be a She Means Business ambassador for Enterprise Nation. So as I said, Social Media Day today, so why not do a Facebook Live and just share some tips and tricks on how I've used social media and how I work with my clients to use social media. And the do's and don'ts side of things is quite tricky because there isn't a rule book and social media is changing all the time. And while it's really important that if you work within an organisation or if you run your own business, you consider having a social media policy, and that doesn't need to be too formal. It could just be a considered use of how you're going to use social media, what your tone of voice is. Are you going to be positive all the time? Are you going to share competitor content, engage with competitors, like what your clients are doing? Some kind of your own rules around use of social media, as well as the kind of more legal, formal side of things about not breaching copyright or sharing confidentiality and things like that. But very often social media policies focus around the don'ts, which can make people a bit scared and overwhelmed to use social media and get the most out of it. So my advice is actually, if you're implementing anything or considering anything, that you think about the do's and the things that you will do as well as the things that you won't. So I'm going to share some of my tips that I share in training sessions and that people ask me about all the time, and these are in absolutely no particular order. I've just got a few scribbled notes and thought I would run through some of these. But probably my biggest tip, if you were going to do anything after watching this Facebook Live, is to revisit your profiles and how you've set your profiles up. Because very often when it comes to social media, people are really focused on jumping straight in and tweeting or posting things on their Facebook page rather than spending enough time on the setup and making sure that you've filled in all the boxes and that you've got a really good professional profile photo, that you've got a branded background image, that you've got a suitable username that's professional and easy for people to remember and search for. Number one, after kind of all those kind of core fundamental bits, would be to focus on the headline. The headline on Twitter, the short description on Facebook, the bio on Twitter, and to make those characters, whether it's between 120 or 160, to work really, really hard. So that bio, that short intro, isn't just your job title and your company name, but it tells people who you are, what you do, how you could help them. It really is kind of your elevator pitch, your first impression. And time moves so quickly on social media. You know, we really are kind of scrolling through with our thumbs so quickly that if we don't get that information right and set expectations, then people can scroll on past or look at the next person. So the fundamentals of setting up your profile is probably my biggest tip, my biggest do, and revisit them. It's not just a tick in the box, I've attended a training session or watched a course, I'll go away and do everything I need to implement. Your social media profiles are living documents. They're working with you all the time, whether you are looking for new business or looking to retain clients or share your expertise and your knowledge. So just consistently make sure that those profiles are set up and working hard for you. Personally, I diarise. I diarise everything on my schedule, and I will put in probably every month or 3 months, is your LinkedIn profile up to date? Have you got any new projects to add? Do you need to change your skills because you're doing something different now that you want people to be looking for? So set all of that up and then make sure that you fill in all the other sections, because social media is about search, it's about getting found, and if you don't give these profiles lots of information to grab hold of when people are searching, then they're not going to find you. So getting found is the biggest thing, and then obviously once they've found you, you've made a good first impression by having a professional setup, then it's all about content. It's all about what you're sharing and what people get to know about you, and that content needs to be about being helpful. So when I work with people after they've set up their profiles, I'm very much a planner. I did also write the social media planner guide, and this is about creating for yourself 4 or 5 key messages or content pillars that when you post on social media, you have a variety of content, but also that your content isn't all me. It's not all join my event or buy my stuff or buy my book or download a free chapter. That it's a mixture of content that's about your world, that people will get to know you for and know what your expertise is, but it broadens the depth. It means that you can share other people's content and not have to create everything yourself. So, for example, my content pillars will include the marketing industry, what's going on in the marketing industry that I'm in, that I'm a chartered member of, that I need to share with my audience of marketers and business owners. Is there some new research? Is there some key legislation coming in that people need to be aware of? I do a lot of work around workplace learning because I'm a course instructor and I do training, so I will share latest news on workplace learning courses and what it means to have online courses versus blended learning or face-to-face. You know, it's not always buy my course, but it is around that ongoing learning and CPD and professional development. I'm based in Gloucestershire, which is beautiful today. So, you know, I'm a small business owner, so I will share information about what's going on in my local business community, whether that's the latest LEP project or funding or places opening or other businesses that I work with. You know, I want to be part of my local business community and to be seen as having a role in that business community. And then, of course, I will do the buy my stuff, but that's only part of my story. So having that content plan, having that framework means that actually on a day-to-day basis, you can manage your time really well because you've already thought about the kind of content that you're going to share. Your profiles are set up nicely, so you just work with that. And time management is probably one of the hardest things around social media. I guess it's a do in terms of manage your time and a don't in terms of don't waste your time. And the only way to match any of those is to be really focused. To have that plan, know who you're talking to, what messages you want to get out, be professional in the setup, and then manage your time by planning ahead. So some content can be scheduled in advance. So yes, you know, I knew I was doing this Facebook Live today, so I scheduled some tweets and I scheduled some Facebook posts to say, you know, join me in an hour and, you know, I'm doing this tomorrow kind of thing. You know, you can schedule that kind of stuff so that on a day-to-day basis when you're busy running your business or working with clients or out enjoying the sunshine, you really just need to make a note of the real-time stuff that's happening, the notifications, the messages that are coming through and the interactions. And unless you're running a huge customer service kind of account, you may not have too many of those. So it may really be quite manageable to do that in 5-10 minutes a day if you're planned and you know what you're trying to achieve. Some more people coming on to the live now. So hello and welcome and happy Social Media Day. My name is Luann Wise. I'm a She Means Business trainer for Enterprise Nation. I'm an author and a marketer, and I'm just sharing some top tips, some do's and don'ts in no particular order at all. So I've talked about having a social media policy, whether that's for corporate or just within your own world, your own tone of voice, what you want to say, how you want to say it, and what you want to be known for. So just going back to that content, I would say one of my biggest do's is write to share. Don't just kind of go, here's my latest blog, read it. That's not very sociable. That's kind of very push and there's no reason for people to interact with it. What we're trying to do is be sociable, start conversations, nurture conversations and relationships. And not everything has to stay on social media. So a lot of the time it's about trying to set up cups of coffee and face-to-face meetings or phone calls. So try and write your content so that people will want to share it and people will want to respond to it. I guess one of the don'ts that I do come across, and I've done some sessions and workshops this week because it was National Freelancers Day. Some people ask me about handling negativity. Unfortunately, it does happen. It happens in life, it happens offline, so it will happen online. And my biggest piece of advice is to acknowledge it and acknowledge it really quickly in a positive way that, you know, you will get in touch and you'll respond to it and you'll have a conversation, but then take it offline, take it into a telephone call, a face-to-face meeting or private messaging. You know, it doesn't all have to be in the public sphere. Acknowledge it publicly in case anyone else is looking, but then take it offline and have the more depth conversation that you need to resolve that crisis, that issue, that feedback comment. And on those notes, some don'ts, I guess. You know, as I said, no rule book, but I would say don't share content that you haven't read. You do need to read everything through to check that it is in line with your key messages and your content pillars, and that you have you can have your own call to action and reason. You're not directing people off to some content that's really old, or to a competitor or someone else's products. I would say there's lots of other things around this about content, and don't trend jack. So timely content is really good. You know, I'm doing this on Social Media Day. I did some content earlier this week on National Freelancers Day. But don't jump on things for the sake of doing it. If it's not relevant, if it's not aligned with your key messages and those content pillars, then kind of steer clear of it. Because otherwise, you just confuse your audience. You know, too much messaging going on, too much conflicting content, really will just confuse your audience. Probably some quick don'ts, but more around the fact of kind of being social. I would say don't over automate. Some automation and scheduling is really good, but it's more about time management. Don't over automate the kind of, thank you for following, or the auto DMs, or trying to sell things. Try and be as personable and authentic as you can. I've been to some conferences really recently, and authenticity is probably one of the key words, one of the biggest do's. Try to be human. People do business with people they know, like and trust, so you've got to be human. And even if you're working as a brand, you want to appear in people's social media streams as one of their friends, someone that they're interacting with, not overly corporate branding messages. Don't buy followers and likes, small but perfectly formed, an audience of focus people who you want to have conversations with, whether that's your clients, your customers, your other key stakeholders. Really focus on building an audience that's relevant and not just made up of lots of bought followers or fake accounts. It doesn't get you anywhere. If you hear people saying they've got 80,000 followers, it's really difficult to justify that they would be authentic and engaging and actually adding value to your business. Don't expect overnight success. Building that audience, building your tone of voice, building your expertise cannot be done in 2 or 3 tweets. It can take years to become an overnight success. Just keep working at it. But if you have that plan that you keep referring to and sticking to, it's not too rigid, this plan of content pillars. It's not, I will only post about this, or I will only post about that. You can bring your world together and keep telling that story. Storytelling is really key, and social media is a great way to do that. Which kind of brings on to don't measure it in terms of vanity metrics. Likes, number of followers is a stepping stone to core metrics and seeing how you're doing. You want to build your audience, so follower growth is a good metric. But ultimately, if you know why you're using social media, why you're using a certain platform, why you're posting the content, what you're driving people to, you should be measuring your ROI on your own objectives and what you're trying to achieve. So ditch the vanity metrics and how many likes and followers you've got, and really focus on your own goals. And then the do around that is actually to make sure you're measuring. Social media is always changing, the world's always changing, so you've got to just make sure that you're constantly measuring and refining, and growing all the time as well. Things come in. Instagram has made a number of new feature announcements in the last week or so, with videos and stories and sound and things like that. So, but ultimately, these are features. So social media can be daunting. There's this new feature, this new piece of functionality. But for me, if you focus on your audience and you focus on your core messages, you can just add those bits and pieces in when the time is right for you. So probably lots of do's and don'ts kind of within the rambling that I've just done. But really, primarily, do set up your profile correctly. Fill everything in. See it as a living thing that you change depending on what you're doing, what you're working on, what you need to achieve. You've got to be ready to do business. You've got to establish your credibility and create those profiles correctly. Because if anyone looks at your content and it doesn't align, then you're going to kind of lose the opportunity. Create your key messages, your content pillars, refer to them consistently, post consistently, storytell, be authentic, engage with your audience. And that's the way to success, really, is just to be present in the places that your audience are, know what your audience need to know from you, keep going at it, and make sure that it's shareable and that you're asking for calls to action and for people to do things. So my call to action here would be have a great day, but make sure you, if you've got any questions or comments or feedback, then please put them in the comments below. So don't dive straight into social media. Do have a plan. Be really considered around it. Focus on your audience over algorithms, and just enjoy it. You know, social media is a wonderful place to meet people, to engage with people, to nurture, to learn, to find people to work with, to find new clients. So it is about celebrating success on Social Media Day today. I hope you've enjoyed this session, that there's some do's and don'ts to come out of it. I said, please put some comments below for me. I will keep checking them. My name's Luanne Wise, and I hope you have a great day and enjoy the sunshine.